Hey everyone, Scott here with another Aperture experience for you. It's long overdue. It's been a while since my last video. So here it is. This is all about learning new tricks with tools we've had for a long time. In this case, it's about the white balance adjustment. And I did not know that for certain settings you can actually brush in white balance. And I found a really good use for it with this particular photo that we have here. It's the hills and nice sunset and clouds in the back. And I tone mapped this image to get some of the foreground to be crisper. But when I was all done, the green down here in the hills, it just wasn't quite as I remember it being on scene. And you can see I've tried using a color adjustment. If I turn that off, you can see a little bit of the green, dissipates, and then a little bit of it comes back. But it still wasn't quite bringing out that pop in the green that I wanted. And what I found is that I played with white balance. The greens in the hills were great, but I didn't want that to be applied everywhere. And it turns out you can brush in white balance. So let's take a look at see what that does for us. So let's turn on white balance straight away and just do an auto. We can see that these greens are great. But I've lost all of that nice richness in the sky there, toggling it back off again. Sky is just like I remember it, those purples and pinks right as the sun was going down. But the hills got flattened out. White balance pops it up beautifully. So what I want to do is just apply the white balance to the hills. And for certain white balances, natural gray being one of them, and skin tone, not that I would use that here, being the other, you can brush in those. For the temperature and tint, no luck. It's all or nothing. So going back to natural gray, I can choose to brush that in, and you can see, if I brush this in, I start doing it, and I get those greens really popping out from just the hillside. Now, I'm going to use a little trick here with a script that I wrote to make my masking easier. But like any, if you just don't have the script, or you don't want to bother with it, you do detect edges and kind of just paint on through here and work your way around, and you play around with the strength of your brush to get the tone that you'd like. But let me show you the script. It'll be a quicker result for me, since I had already tried doing a color adjustment and spent lots of time masking. So I mentioned I had first tried to get the greens to come out with a color adjustment. We can see here I brushed that in, and spent quite a bit of time getting the mask right, so it was just on the hills. I don't want to have to repeat that when I do this with the white balance adjustment. Here's to Aperture 4 for bringing us a native method to lift masks from one adjustment and apply them to another. In the interim, I got tired of doing it and wrote a script to do the same thing, an Apple script. So I'm going to launch that now. It's called Brush, Mask, Lift, and Stamp. If you're interested in it, you can check out the blog. It brings up a list of all of the brushed adjustments, and so I'm going to copy it from my color adjustment, and I'm going to paste it to my white balance adjustment. Once it does that, it's going to shut down Aperture, because it's going to move these masks around behind the scenes. We want to make sure that happens while Aperture is shut down. Aperture is a complex program, lots of caching going on, other threads happening in the background. We don't want to be having interference with that. So I'll click OK. And you can see that the greens of the white balance are nicely applied here. We don't have the sky disappearing. And just to prove the point that the script actually works, now there's my color overlay for just the white balance. Anyway, the real point of this video is white balance. You can brush it in selectively when you're using natural gray or skin tone, and that can be really useful. And in this particular case, it was great for this landscape shot to really bring those greens out and make a more dramatic picture. I'll probably back these greens off a little bit, a little more post-production on it. But yeah, that's it for today. So white balance, you can brush it in. And again, if you're interested in the brush lift and stamp script, take a look at the blog. I'll put a pointer down in the comments below the video. Thanks again.